Update: my mom abandoned me at my grandparents' house when I was 8 years old because her new family needed a home. But now I asked them to leave my house. Part 3: my mom started blaming herself for not raising me properly. In fact, she put my late father in the middle and said it was her fault for dying so early and not giving me a proper upbringing. I said, wait, if anyone is to blame, it has to be you. Not for raising me badly because you never raised me. I was raised by my grandparents, and they did pretty well. You should feel bad for leaving me. But you know what? I'm glad you didn't raise me. I see how badly you raised your stepdaughter. I touched on the subject of teenage pregnancy. I know I shouldn't have made a moral judgment, but at the moment of anger, I did it naturally. She was mad at me. I realized I had crossed the line and kept quiet. After that, I said I didn't want to keep talking. I just wanted to get my property back. I have allowed them to live there for free for so many years. Now I really need it. I tried to make her understand my situation, that I quit my job and needed money to start my business, so I would be renting the house. She was angry because I was kicking them out just to let other strangers live there. I said the other guys would pay me rent. If you agree to pay, you can live there. She was mad because I was putting money into family affairs. I said, there's no family here. You threw me out like trash and barely cared about me. My birthdays, Christmas, you just showed up, and when you did, you made me feel like you were doing me a favor. What kind of mother does that? A mother like you, right? She tried every means to manipulate me, emotional manipulation, making me feel guilty, and her usual fits of anger. When she understood that I was not giving in, she left. You guys are thinking they evicted the house after that? They didn't. Mom's husband still had to come on stage. That asshole sent a voice message saying, friend, you don't know who you're messing with. I can visit you and make you beg for your life. A slap in the face and you'll forget about the house. If you keep doing this, I'll knock you out. That guy is big and loves to show off. I don't know much about him, but my friends warn me not to mess with him. He's a bully. Of course, he is, but he's also a fool. He presented evidence against himself by threatening me via voicemail. I did not respond because I wanted someone older to take care of him, the police. On the alleged eviction day, I went to the police station and recorded a case of threats. I had solid evidence. My lawyer accompanied me to the police station and asked the police to accompany us to the eviction. Initially, they were not willing to come. They said, call us if they cause trouble, but we don't want to deal with the squatters on our own. Some cash helped convince them, and they accompanied us. When I got home with my lawyer, Mom, Bill, and Brenda started insulting us. Even her husband ended up with a field hockey stick. But as soon as they saw the police vehicle behind our car, they backtracked. The cops showed them the eviction notice and asked them to leave. They were so sure they weren't going to leave they didn't even pack their things. They asked the cops to give them a month longer. The cops looked at me, and I said, no way. After all these threats, they started using Brenda's pregnancy to get a few more days. But I stood firm and said, no. I got some strange looks from the cops, indicating that I was insensitive, but I was following the legal path, so no one had the right to give their opinion. Then they tried to negotiate to give them another day. I said, 3 hours from now. They looked at me with bitterness. Bill even tried to convince me with hateful eyes. The cops insisted on moving more packing and less looking. We all left after that. The cops asked them to hand over the keys to the police station from where I would pick them up. We had to pay the cops extra to make this easier, but it was completely worth it. Who wants to deal with those illegal occupants? My lawyer suggested that we apply for a restraining order on the property in case they would like to return and harass me or the tenants. I filed it, and the police gave them a copy of the restraining order and explained the consequences of violating it. The meanness in their faces was evident and end. I finally got the house and have put it up for rent. I hope to get a good deal and be able to start my business as soon as possible. Enough dealing with those despicable people. Update 3. After some time, I finally managed to find tenants for the house. It took me time because I had to do some repairs, but they were delighted with the place and signed the lease agreement smoothly. I thought that I had finally left behind all the problems related to the property, but it seems that things were not going to be so easy. A few days ago, I received a call from my new tenants. They were visibly distressed and informed me that someone was trying to force their way into the house. At first, I thought it was an attempted robbery, but when I arrived at the place, I was shocked. It was Bill, my mother's husband, who was trying to get the tenants out to take possession of the house. When I confronted him, he became aggressive and began to shout that the house belonged to him and that he had the right to live there. I tried to calm the situation and explain that he no longer had any rights over the property, who even had a restraining order from the house, but he refused to listen to reason. The situation was about to get out of control when neighbors arrived, alerted by the commotion, and called the police. The police officers arrived quickly and tried to mediate the situation. However, Bill became even more aggressive and began to insult the officers. Finally, when he tried to resist arrest, the police officers had to subdue him and arrest him for violent conduct, breaking down of private property, and non-compliance with the restraining order. It was a relief to see that the law was finally on my side without having to pay and that Bill would receive the consequences of his actions. The tenants were a little worried about everything, but they were also grateful for the police intervention and were able to continue living in the house without further interference. I know what he did is wrong, but with all the charges he has, I think things are going to be a little complicated for him. He has several charges, some where the police themselves are witnesses, so at least he's not going to bother us for a while. We'll see if he's such a bully when he spends time in jail. Update 4. My mother came to my house to talk to me and was lucky to find me because I've already found a cheap place to move to so as not to bother me anymore. With the money I get for my house, I can rent something and leave the rest to invest in my business. She wanted me to drop some charges against Bill, which I am sure I will not do. I don't know if I can, since the charges are actually filed by my tenants, although I don't know the legal details. The only charge I think I could drop would be related to the restraining order, but I'm not going to remove it either. To say that my mother didn't like this answer too much is an understatement, but it's not that she can convince me of anything. She said that now everything was going wrong for them and that I shouldn't add any more problems, but none of that convinced me. I know some will say I'm very hard on them, but I certainly think I did enough. I gave them a month to leave the property or pay rent, and they didn't like either option. The only thing they would have liked is to let them continue living for free, which wasn't going to happen. They did until now, so I think that's just what I'm asking for regarding Bill. In total, the charges have a sentence of 12 years, but that's only if he is given the maximum sentence on the charges, which I doubt will happen, although he does at least get a few months in jail with some interesting colleagues. Maybe when he comes out, he won't be as aggressive as he is now. You see it here, we do upload the full stories and in order. Follow us.